Welcome! This is my basics video on how to get through and use JSTOR database. My name is Rachel. I am a professional artist as well as I have a master's in library and information science. For most people, you're just going to start on the SJSU homepage. This is the main one. You're going to click on databases, which is going to take you to the main database page where you click the J and you scroll down, and here you can see JSTOR journals. It'll usually ask you to sign in at this point. I strongly recommend that you do so. Once you sign in, you will know that you are signed in because up at the top it'll say access provided by San Jose State University. Now you are on JSTOR's main homepage, and in the example that we are giving today, we are going to use Georgia O'Keeffe as an example. So say hypothetically, I want to do a search for Georgia O'Keeffe. I want you to make a note right here that JSTOR does not do autocorrect spelling. Personally, I often throw things into Google or a Word document to make sure I'm spelling things correctly because JSTOR will not catch or autocorrect that for you. Now, say I just want to look for everything. I do that. I put her name in, the keyword, and I hit search, or you can hit enter, and it'll bring you up to everything. Now, say you're like, actually, I want to look at just images, and I want the images to be just flowers. Okay, so now you are looking at Georgia O'Keeffe and flowers, okay, and you're only looking through images. So when you're doing an arts program, at some point or other, you will be asked about your artistic influences. And one of the best ways to do this is to look at other artists' work and see things that are similar to your own or that have inspired you. Personally, I paint a lot of flowers. So say I find one that I really like, you can click on it and it's going to bring up all sorts of options for you. So one of the things I really love about JSTOR is it lets you download a high resolution copy. You can also cite it. And one thing that I've talked to many students about that people struggle with is being able to cite work or cite images. Here we have it all right here. I use APA. You can copy this right here. It gives you a link and everything. Please note, citation generators are usually not 100%, but it is a great way to make sure that you have access to the item, you're citing it properly. You can also scroll down here on the side and see, oh, this was an oil on canvas. You can see how big it was, because the other option of something that you're always talking about in artist statements is, what about this artist influence is actually similar to your own? It doesn't have to be a topic. Maybe it's that they use a certain size painting, or they use a certain kind of medium, or a certain kind of technique. I chose something that was actually a subject matter and in general tends to be a kind of work that I like to do. Now, once you have found a couple images that you really like and you've got all the information you need from them, you've downloaded a very cool image of it, you go back to results and you're like, you know, I have images, but I also need actual content. I need to know about Georgia O'Keeffe. So maybe instead you want to look at books or you want to look at documents and you don't want to look at images anymore. So you see over here on the left-hand side, I am changing the results just by looking at these different filters right here. Say for how you're looking at a very specific collection. You can scroll down and you can say, I only want to look at a collection specifically at this very specific encyclopedia or at this very specific museum. Georgia O'Keeffe does have, I believe, at least one or two multiple museums of just her own. Maybe you want to look at journals, and every single time you click on it, it's automatically changing it. Now, I love to find scholarly material on a very specific piece of art. So this is on White Flower. It's written by William M. And you can actually scroll through here. You can actually read about it. You could download it. You can cite it. And again, watch those citation generators, but it's a great place to start. And then once you're here, I love to look through these for additional keywords. So looking through here, you can find things like descendant of 291. And you see this famous room, 291. What is that? So maybe you're going to write that down and you're going to make a note to look that up in a separate search. You're looking for other keywords that you might want to use. And you can scroll through, you can do a browsing, you can also save this, but you're going to need other kinds of sources. And so these are a great way to scroll through and see what else is happening. You can see where it's been cited by, which has been super helpful because it could be that something else could lead you down a path and find even a better resource. So doing some of these like browsing about these different items can really, really help you. And then again, go back to search results. Now we're looking right now at journals, books, and documents. We're using the filters on the left-hand side, and you can scroll through. You can also add, we're still looking at Georgia O'Keeffe and flowers, which means we are only looking for journals, books, and documents that have both Georgia O'Keeffe and flowers as part of the subject matter or a key word. And you can scroll down and you can look for a lot of different things. I have found that when I'm first starting research, I like to keep things rather broad and then go more and more in depth as we go. You can also realize things like, oh, a lot of Georgia O'Keeffe's work has a lot of conversations on gender and sexuality and modernism and urban imagery. How does that relate to her work on flowers, her paintings of flowers and landscapes? What is this like? So I think looking at some of these scholarly materials can really help you also refine your specific topic, what you actually want to talk about within Georgia O'Keeffe's work. Georgia O'Keeffe was a massive artist, a very, very famous painter. You're also going to see a lot of photos of her, and you might ask, why does she have so many photos of her? And that's when you realize, oh, Georgia O'Keeffe is married to one of the most famous American photographers, Alfred Stieglitz. So you might need to go back and say, you know what, I need to look up Alfred Stieglitz. So you go back, and you could go up here and you can either do a new search, you can just put in Alfred Stieglitz, try again, start broad, you never know. And it's going to bring up lots of stuff on Alfred Stieglitz. You can see the alienation of the artist. These are some really interesting articles that are written about Alfred Stieglitz, and you could also do Alfred Stieglitz and Georgia O'Keeffe to narrow it down a little bit. This is a great way to start looking at very specific content and things that you want to see. How does this relate? Georgia O'Keeffe's Gender, Sexuality, Modern. See, it's the same article again, so this might be something that you'd want to look at. Why is it coming up in two different searches? And then you can look at about the issues, look at cited by, and this is a great way to start with your research. Build some different sources that you're going to want to go back and look over, see what they're talking about, what the different subject matters are, and how it relates to your own work as an artist. If you're logged in, you can also save things individually. I have talked to certain students who have struggled with certain databases not saving things individually, so make sure you'd have to be logged in specifically to a JSTOR in order for them to save long term. I have found if you download them and have a citation, you will always be able to find them, which is another way to go. You can also go back to search results and start looking for specific book chapters. And this is The Man Behind the Woman. So this is actually going to be talking about Alfred Stieglitz and what he was doing behind the scenes with Georgia O'Keeffe. Because Alfred Stieglitz is one of the most famous photographers, and he happens to be married to one of the most famous painters. And this might be something that you'd want to explore, or a theme that you'd want to explore. You can also search for just images. If you click this tab right here, that's going to take you to just images related to Alfred Stieglitz. Now, because he was a photographer, you're going to have a lot of images. He did do a lot of figure photography as well. And you're going to get a lot of images related to Georgia O'Keeffe. So this is a fun and interesting and exciting way to think about how you want to do a browsing basic search to get you going. So once you have images and you have some basic journals and articles that you've read and you have some more keywords, we can go on from there, come back for the advanced demonstration.